Football Guys Talking Basketball, FGTB. Ted, let's start with Sooners hoops. So we've got Javion McCollum, transfer portal. Otega Owe, transfer portal. Milos Uzan, transfer portal. Hughley, transfer portal. And now Jalon Moore has declared for the NBA draft. Now, he can still come back to OU if he doesn't like the feedback he gets during the pre-draft process. But man, we were really hoping he would just say he was coming back for next season. It hurts. Kinda. I don't know. The uncertainty maybe is the worst part, Ted.
Yeah. The little release he put out, it did not feel like I'm going to see what the draft process is like, and then I may be back. It felt like a goodbye,
Like a
didn't it?
nice goodbye.
Yeah, it did. But
The
we'll
emotional
see.
graphic.
Yeah, he clearly incredibly athletic. Still feels like he's kind of a raw talent that maybe has a much higher upside. So I don't like. What do you think his NBA draft prospects are?
I think he would be drafted. I think someone would see his athletic traits and go, you know what, he's worth the second round pick at some point. And I think there's going to be a coaching staff out there, a development staff out there that goes, hey, we can sharpen this guy's basketball tools.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line for me is he's an NBA athlete. And if you have the level of athleticism to play in the league, there's a lot of people in that league that think, hey, we can get you there from a skill development standpoint. It's very similar to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you have the measurables? You do? Okay. We will get you to your full potential if you have the measurables and the ability. And I think he's one of those guys, but there's no doubt he's going to get some feedback that he doesn't exactly like during the pre-draft process. And I just don't know if that will convince him to come back to Norman for a year, or will an NBA team give him a lot of constructive criticism and say, hey, come in, we'll draft you. You'll play in the G League. We'll be working with you one-on-one every single day on your development. I just don't know. But I just don't think there's any doubt in my mind. He's an NBA athlete. The question is, does he have the basketball skill to stick in the league?
Yeah, I don't know, but it feels like we got ourselves a full reset on
Oh,
the basketball
I
roster.
I looked it up. I looked it up. Top 6 scorers: McCollum, Owe, Moore, Suarez, Uzan, Hughley. Bye bye. Top 6.
Well, you know, I think the situation is frustrating, but I there's nothing that says that you can't go to the transfer portal, such as the the operation these days for not just Oklahoma, a bunch of people. Nothing says that you can't go to the transfer portal and upgrade on some, if not all, of those spots.
You have to, let's be real, you got to have the NIL dollars. And I'm not entirely sure where the basketball program is with all that right now. I think it's gotten better. I don't think they are. I have no clue, but I assume they're not in the same tax bracket as your Kansases and your Kentuckys and those type of programs. But man, I feel like this was the one thing that OU fans were holding on, like, hey, Jalon Moore is going to come back. We're going to be able to build around him a little bit. And he's not for sure gone, but it did feel, when I saw the graphic, it felt like a bit of a gut punch. I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know how the basketball NIL. I guess I don't know where Oklahoma stacks up. It's interesting because you have a bunch of D1 schools, and there's a bunch of schools like, for example, you know, UConn. That's a basketball school. I know they got a football program. They've talked a lot about dropping it, but you know where the NIL at UConn is aimed, right? You know where the NIL at Duke is aimed, and I know North Carolina's football program has come around a little bit, but like, at the basketball schools that where it's aimed. But I don't know. It feels like there's probably a really fast drop off with your top schools NIL and then what everyone else puts to NIL for basketball. So I don't know where we stack up. I don't think we're at the top of the list by any stretch, but I mean, they put together a pretty good transfer portal class a year ago. I'm kind of in a spot to believe that they should be able to do it again.
Yeah, and it just makes it really challenging for Porter Moser.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's people out there going, well, it's his job to keep these guys and to get them to come play at Oklahoma for another season. And I understand that, but it's really hard to establish some culture and some continuity, right? The culture wall. It's really
Mm-hmm.
hard to establish that when you've got a new starting lineup each year.
And I know it's up to Porter Moser to keep those guys, but it gets to a certain point where it doesn't matter who the head coach is or how good the team was. The transfer portal is just the thing to do right now in college hoops. I mean, there's good players at good schools that had good seasons that are still jumping in the transfer portal. So, like, I don't know that you can point the finger and blame the coach for guys jumping in the portal. Had Oklahoma made the tournament, there's still a really good chance that all of these guys would still have done the same exact thing.
Yeah, see what you can get on the open market. I
When
I
there's
think
nothing
that
to lose.
all these guys are just taking advantage of the rules, including Jalon Moore. I think Jalon Moore's making a smart decision.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that in college basketball, you can enter your name in the draft, go through all of that pre-draft process, talk to a bunch of NBA teams on where they think you need to get better. That's incredibly valuable to him, and still return to school and then work on all that stuff. Like, that's incredibly valuable for Jalon Moore. Just the uncertainty makes it tough on Porter. Like, do you save the roster spot? I guess you have to,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see who ends up. This is kind of where I'm at with college basketball, or at least with OU basketball. Let me know in August
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
on the team, and then I will support them. I will support them. But man, it's getting tough to keep track of all this stuff.
I know. I know it. Yeah.
Let's talk some Thunder. Thunder have lost 3 in a row. Now they play Charlotte today. We're recording before that game takes place. I fully anticipate them winning that game, but they have not had SGA and Jalen Williams for the last 3 games, and they've lost the last 3 games. Philly, Boston, and then the Pacers. But still in position, Ted, to get one of the top 2 seeds. You've got 4 home games left after their game against Charlotte today. You've got Sacramento, San Antonio, Milwaukee, and a red hot Dallas. They still have a shot at the number 1 seed. Minnesota and Denver, actually, they play each other this week. So one of those teams is going to take a loss in that one. It's going to be a huge game for the standings, but I guess all that really matters is that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams are healthy when the playoffs start, right? I mean, I guess that is way more important than pushing for the number 1 seed, even though if you end up having to go to Denver in the conference finals, that there's no doubt that is a massive home court advantage with the altitude and all that stuff. But I guess you don't really worry about that. All you're worried about is that your 2 best players are healthy and ready to go for when the playoffs start.
And you believe they will be, right?
Yes. I'd be very surprised if they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I think really just being in the top 4 in the seeding is kind of the most important part. Like if you get to the conference finals, then you'll cross that bridge whenever you get there. It's going to be difficult to navigate that, even if you have the home court. But yeah, just making sure that those guys are healthy and ready to roll is the most important thing.
So there are a couple different places that put out some first round like playoff opponent probabilities, and one of them is called playoff status. And right now, because this is the last week of the regular season in the NBA, want to take a guess who has who the Thunder have the highest percentage chance of playing in the first round of the playoffs?
Lakers.
Suns.
Okay.
Kevin Durant and the Suns. Right now, 31% chance to play the Suns, 24% chance for the Thunder playing the Pelicans, 21% Kings, 17% Lakers, and then a pretty significant drop off, 5% Warriors, 3% Mavericks. There are a lot of variables.
I forgot the Lakers have started to gear up for a playoff. They've won like 9 or 10 in a row, haven't they?
Yeah,
something like that.
They're starting to look pretty solid.
Yeah,
I think we've made ourselves clear on our stance that I'm good with missing the Lakers in the first round.
Yep.
But
Suns would be fun, man. That'd be good.
Could you imagine?
It'd be awesome.
And I know that they've got Bradley Beal and Durant and Booker. I get all that, but the storylines, that'd be so much fun. Little turmoil in Phoenix with that new owner as well. I just think it would just be wildly entertaining. And if you can't beat the Suns with how they've struggled at times this year, if you can't beat them in the first round, then you got to reassess some of the aspects of the team. So I'd be all for that first round matchup. That'd be so much fun.
It's like, here's the official sign that everything has come kind of full circle, right? Like we are, like that would be really cool. It'd be really cool.
Yeah. So we'll see how this all shakes out for the Thunder, but it's just really exciting to have meaningful basketball in April again. I mean, it is going to be awesome. And I'm starting to gear up the vocal cords for playoff basketball, Ted, doing some voice exercises every day to make sure that ready to scream at some people. Can't wait.